Hey everyone, so I wanted to make a video today going over Age of Mythology Retold because really not a whole lot of information of the game has come out since its reveal and announcement late in 2022. So specifically the purpose of this video, what I want to talk about is going over whether or not Age of Mythology Retold will be coming to Xbox. And quite honestly, to give you a direct answer is we don't know. We don't know if Age of Mythology is going to launch day one on console. We don't even know if it's coming to console at all. However, I think based on what we've seen with the moves of the Age of Empires franchise as a whole, I think it's safe to say that yes, Age of Mythology Retold will eventually come to Xbox, and this video is going to break down why that is. If this is your first time on the channel, well, we love to cover RTS games, including Age of Empires and Halo Wars, and we're going to be covering AOM Retold as we get closer to launch, and of course, we'll be doing a lot after launch as well, so if you're interested in that, be sure to check out the channel. So, for this video, let's talk about how or what would make AOM Retold come to Xbox. Well, the title firstly for the game, Retold, infers that the game is entirely a remake and not a definitive edition or remaster. What we've seen from previous entries, specifically with Age of Empires 1 through 3, they've all received what's called the definitive edition treatment, where all of these games have been reported over to support modern hardware, really nice graphical enhancements, new DLC, bug fixes, AI improvements, so on and so forth. The list really kind of goes on and on. With this game, though, it's inferred that this is a complete remake. And I think, you know what, that's probably for the best. The way that Age of Mythology Extended Edition, that is technically a port of the original game over to Steam with a couple of modern features like supporting modern displays and resolutions, that sort of stuff. It's not really a definitive edition. That's why it's called Extended Edition. I think is why they named it that way. However, I think this remake is going to be a lot different than what we've seen there. The Tales of the Dragon expansion was really poorly received and is actually quite horrible, both technically and from a gameplay perspective. So I think there's going to be a larger variation between Retold and AOM Extended Edition. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just like delist it or call it like AOM Classic or something, just like how they did with Age of Empires 2 HD Edition, which I think has been renamed like AoE 2, like 2013 or something on Steam. So AoE 2 came to Xbox earlier in February of 2023, and AoE 4 is confirmed to come to Xbox later this year in 2023. So why wouldn't AOM? Well, with the data that we've seen with AoE 2, how it did on Xbox was actually pretty great. Not only did it stay on one of the top titles on Game Pass for console, but because of crossplay, I think we're seeing a really organic growth of this title on console. I've seen a lot of people in the comments of my AoE 2 videos mentioning that they've never played Age of Empires before, and they're playing it now because it's on console. And I think the fact that technically AoE 2 is now on 3 platforms, Windows 10 through Game Pass, or, you know, buy it your own way on the Windows Store, the Steam version, as well as Xbox, all crossplay, it works great, and I think that that's a great way to kind of introduce new players to this franchise. I'm glad with the way that they did the controls in AoE 2. They made it to where a lot of the complicated macro with controlling your villagers, organizing your economy, that sort of stuff can actually be automated for you. Is really helpful for Xbox players. So I think these little kinds of improvements to the game are why it remains one of the most popular games on Game Pass. Both AoE 2 and AoE 4 remain the most popular games in the franchise. I don't really hear a whole lot of people playing AoE 3 or AoE 1, and in fact, a lot of the Age of Empires 1 civilizations are coming to Age of Empires 2 in the Return to Rome expansion that's coming out later this year. Also, the entire franchise has a growing audience thanks to both crossplay and Game Pass. There's no barriers to entry to any of these titles anymore. So if you pick up Game Pass Ultimate or even just Game Pass for PC, you can play all of these Age of Empires titles. And interestingly enough, the only one missing is Age of Mythology. And the fact that technically all of the civilizations from AoE 1 and AoE 2 are going to be playable on console through AoE 2 as well as Age of Empires 4. I wouldn't be surprised if you see from World's Edge or Forgotten Empires, the teams that help manage the Age of Empires franchise say, yes, we'll bring Age of Empires 3 as well as Age of Mythology Retold to console at a later time. Clearly, there is demand from RTS fans and Age of Empires fans who want these games on console, and I think with the success of Age of Empires 2 on console, you're only going to continue to see more of these games release on the platform. Also, with time, thanks to supply chain shortages kind of dwindling away and it's easier to find consoles, you're going to see, I think, more people pick up the new Xbox consoles as they upgrade from older hardware, and that's going to allow more players in this ecosystem to play these games. Now, granted, yes, you can play AoE 2 on Xbox One, but I do think that allowing people to play on Series X and S will only further increase Game Pass subscriptions and therefore be better able to download this game and try it out for the very first time. AOM is going to launch on Game Pass when it comes out on PC. That is obviously a given. And there is support for all of these titles still to this day. We're seeing updates for, I just saw on Twitter the other day, a new update for Age of Empires 3. And Age of Empires 2, of course, is the most popular title. And Age of Empires 4 receives updates quite frequently as well. Finally, I think one thing that World's Edge and Forgotten Empires might do for AOM Retold is they might do like maybe 2 different launches, kind of similar to how they did Age of Empires 2 when the definitive edition of that game came out. For example, AoE 2 came out on PCs, and then a few years went by before it even came to consoles. I think we might see something maybe similar for this for AOM Retold. Maybe they want to focus on the PC version, get this done and out the door, and then maybe a year or maybe even 2 years after launch of the PC version of this game, then you'll see AOM Retold hit Xbox. Maybe we won't see that at all. Maybe we'll see both of these games launch day one on both platforms with crossplay, or maybe you won't see an Xbox version at all. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that we are going to see AOM Retold on console in some way, shape, or form. It's just a matter of time. So I pass the question on to you. Do you think we'll get Age of Mythology Retold on consoles? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Personally, I think that it's bound to happen given Age of Empires 2's success on console. Age of Empires 4 is right around the corner for console. I think there's really just a lot of demand for these games to come to new hardware, and the fact that there's cross-play and Game Pass really makes that much more likely, in my opinion. Again, as I said at the beginning of this video, we are RTS dorks, so if you like that, Team Respawn is definitely the place for you, especially for nerds who scream and make fun of themselves playing Halo Wars and Age of Empires. All right, that's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you, James.